Us in Seattle, Washington, trial attorney Ann Bremner, in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor and law professor at Texas Southern University, Michael Sterling. Also joining us in the ATL, criminal defense attorney and attorney for several of R. Kelly's accusers, Gerald Griggs. Great to see everyone tonight. Gerald, let me begin with you. Looking at this case and ultimately what it's all about, it's RICO. He's running this criminal enterprise. Explain to us the difference between what R. Kelly's accused of doing versus every other rock band that goes on tour and has an entourage and tries to get women for the bass guy, for the drummer, and for everyone else. Because I want people to understand the difference in what's going on here, according to prosecutors, versus what we see day in and day out in the world of rock and roll.
Well, the difference is most rock and roll bands don't use blackmail and extortion to fly underage women across the country for the purpose of illicit sex. So that's the difference, and that's the reason why he's facing RICO conspiracy charges, violation of the Mann Act, extortion, and blackmail. And so, we hear it all the time. These were groupies. We heard Mr. Greenberg talk about it. But this particular indictment lays it all out, and we believe that the evidence will lay it all out, that this is more than just the acts of groupies. This is predation at its worst, and we must hold Mr. Kelly accountable for it.
All right, I'm going to hold Michael Sterling accountable for federal prosecutors here. Why does it take a Lifetime docuseries to get prosecutors moving on this whole thing, Michael?
Well, Vinny, I think it took a lot of the victims being able to come forward and speak their stories. I think one of the things we learned from the Lifetime series was that several of the victims had been very reluctant to come forward. And as Mr. Griggs just mentioned, there were all sorts of uses of illegal things, such as blackmail, such as extortion, that prevented them from coming forward. And I think we're going to hear about some of the bribery, some of the things that happened that really prevented the victims from coming forward. And then I think the Lifetime series certainly brought to light a lot of the victims who were willing to come forward, and then federal prosecutors doing their due diligence followed up with many of those victims to really tie together the story and truly understand, what was happening here, which led ultimately to these charges.
And Bremner, you were there when Michael Jackson was facing charges, and we know not when he was in court, not when the alleged acts took place. I want to make that clear to everybody.
Yes.
But you covered that in depth. You were there. You were on the ground. Do you see any similarities, or is this completely different? Because way too many times, Ann Bremner, we have seen the celebrity impact, right? We've seen it. I mean, Jason Williams, who was like, he was a great basketball player, but he was like an okay NBA player, had a big contract, shot and killed someone right in his living room. And the jury's like, well, I don't know. So what do you think about R. Kelly and his celebrity factor in this courtroom?
Well, you always wonder, and you and I go way back on these, Vinny, and of course on Michael Jackson. You wonder, is celebrity justice an oxymoron? I mean, are those things like mutually exclusive? Of course, Michael Jackson walked, he had an entourage, he had enablers. It was a conspiracy case, remember? Like we have trafficking here and all these enablers and helpers and everything else. But I think that there's three things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and karma. And I really think that karma is catching up with R. Kelly now. Maybe it just took the documentary. He was acquitted before, but this time, I think it's going to be very different. Very, very different.
Gerald, it's going to be difficult it's difficult in all cases when accusers have to take the stand. And you've got to relive the moment, number one. You're in a very public trial. You're in a courtroom. I mean, the spotlight is on you. And then you're going to have a defense team that is going to do everything and anything they can to make it look like you are not telling the truth. Do you believe that the accusers in this case are prepared for that moment?
Yes, I definitely believe they're prepared. Many of them have able attorneys who are preparing them. But you also have to remember, there are lots of accusers. And so there will be strength in numbers. They've been preparing for this day, many of them for, 10, 15 years. Some of the more recent ones for a few years have been preparing for this day. So I think they'll be prepared. And it's hopeful that, the rules of evidence will prevent some of the fishing expeditions that the lawyers have already thrown out there. This is not about anything other than the conduct of Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly, and that's what should come in this courtroom.
All right, we shall see. We'll continue to follow it here on Court TV. Opening statements scheduled for next Wednesday. But as I said off the top, federal court, Chief Justice Roberts not letting cameras in. All right, when we come back, a case where the cameras are inside the courtroom. You've been watching the trial on Court TV all day. Chad Isaac, chiropractor, accused of a quadruple murder. Today, all about the surveillance video. Can they put him at the scene of the crime? We've got a live report, plus the video next.
When the individual you saw on April 1st, 2019 walked, you said essentially followed the same route back to the white pickup?
Correct.
Could you see any detail about that white pickup?
I know it was like an early 2000 body style pickup. I remember it as a Ford, half ton. I don't recall extended cab or regular cab. I don't remember that. I just remember early 2000s white Ford F-150.
There's one of the eyewitnesses for prosecutors in the case against Chad Isaac, the chiropractor accused of this quadruple murder, and still trying to figure out why. The motive not clear at all inside that courtroom, but they're trying to prove it. And eyewitness testimony, we know, is sometimes not reliable, right? Sometimes, three people see the same thing and they'll give you three different descriptions of what just happened. Well, the good news for this witness, his name is Ben Zachmeyer, former owner of Big O Tires, is that he also had some video to compare what he saw to. Fascinating. Take a listen.
Based on how that individual behaved on April 1st, 2019? What did that cause you to do?
Well, I guess I just went back and I thought to myself that this seems like somebody had done this before, or somebody that had walked this route before. So I went back and, as I had said earlier, I think we have about 3 weeks before our surveillance cameras start to overwrite. So I went back, and looked a few days prior and didn't come up with anything. And then I got to thinking, well, if you always try to recreate something that's in the same variables, times and things like that. If you're trying to, I think if you're going to try and plan something. So I went back 1 week, and 1 week to the day to March 25th it was of 2019. I seen the same truck at the same time pull into that frontage road that goes over to McDonald's and park in the same spot.
It's like a little bit of detective work there by that witness. Unbelievable. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Paint, who's joining us live tonight from Mandan, North Dakota. Chanley, great to see you. This witness acting as a detective, so give us the significance of him going back and seeing that video, and does that put the defendant at the scene of the crime?
This is a big piece of evidence for the prosecution, because if the jury believes that the same person a week before the murders is doing a test run, rehearsing the route, wearing the same type of clothes, walking in the same direction, parking at the same McDonald's, then that is really damaging to the defendant in this case. And here we have this Ben Zachmeyer, who did own at the time Big O Tires just down the road from where I am, and he talked about he did a little extra effort. The authorities came to him in the days following the murder asking for surveillance video of just April 1st, but he actually went back and watched previous days and found that a week before, this same suspicious looking man, he said it's a man because during that time he actually urinated on the fence of Big O Tires, that it stood out to him because it's the same thing he noticed April 1st, the morning of the murder. So this was interesting to me because in a pretrial motion, Vinny, the prosecution gave notice that they were going to introduce this evidence as a prior act. It actually argued it wasn't a prior act, it's just evidence in the case, and the defense never objected in the file. They're just letting it in there.
Okay, video evidence is important today. It was a big part of what happened. Can you put together the timeline of this video evidence, and what is the picture that is being painted by prosecutors here?
Well, so far the picture isn't yet complete. We anticipate it will become much clearer tomorrow when the entire compilation that they spent the entire day today laying the groundwork for will actually be played for the jury. They even brought in extra monitors after court today so the jury has a really up-close look at what the investigators spent so long piecing together from footage and still photos in this PowerPoint they'll see tomorrow. But we were able to get a little bit of a glimpse on cross-examination of one of the witnesses today. So I kind of pulled out some of that to give us an idea. It's not a complete picture yet, but an idea of what this jury will be learning more of tomorrow. Let's put it up on the screen. This is from the former Mandan police officer. On cross-examination, we learned that the suspect vehicle arrives at McDonald's at 5:22 a.m. April 1st, 2019, 5:30. That suspect is on video walking outside his vehicle. 5:43 a.m. the suspect is at the Bill Barth Ford, which is down the road a little bit along Memorial Highway. The defense pointed out on cross that there's a big gap, about 50 minutes of time passes before the next stop in the presentation, which shows the Cobbs, two of the victims here, William and Lois Cobb, smoking outside of RJR. And then at 6:34 a.m., that's when William Cobb lets his wife Lois into the business that morning. At 6:42 a.m., the suspect is on surveillance video. They're dressed differently than when he arrived. 6:57 a.m., Adam Fuhrer arrives to work. 7:01, Robert Faulkner enters RJR, and the suspect walks out at 7:03 a.m. And we're learning just how quickly Robert Faulkner may have been murdered. Let's listen.
It was 1 minute 19 seconds from when Robert Faulkner went into RJR to the time the suspect is seen leaving, correct?
Approximately, yes.
Yeah. Okay. A minute 19, I just want to be clear on that. That's what you'd agree with that, correct?
Approximately, yes.
And you have no reason to believe that the suspect re-entered the building at that time when you observe him leaving, right?
No.
It's really quick, Vinny. All of these loose ends that will be tied up tomorrow for the complete timeline with the visual aids for the jury. But what is clear, the clear picture inside that courtroom so far, is that this was a targeted killing. This is someone who had an eye on the prize because he was in there about 14 minutes with the Cobbs, and then quickly these murders happened once Adam Fuhrer arrived and, of course, the co-owner, Robert Faulkner. So it'll all, again, the prosecution's case, as it culminates, will be clear for the jury, but that was a huge today.
Big day. All right, Chanley Painter, stand by. Let's bring in our think tank, get a little bit of reaction from them to these developments. Still with us, Ann Bremner, Michael Sterling, and Gerald Griggs. Ann Bremner, this timeline, it's focused. I don't understand, though. We don't really have the motive for why this is taking place, but as Chanley pointed out, it's clearly very, very specific and very targeted here.
Exactly. And we all know that you don't have to prove motive. We always say that when prosecutors, but you have intent, you've got the mens rea, and you've got the actus reus, as we learned in law school. That's all you need. And so his intent, we don't know what his motive is. He knows what his motive is for sure. Timeline, carefully planned out, basically going and casing the place beforehand. And all the overwhelming evidence in all the stab wounds, shooting, everything else, he knows. But the prosecution doesn't have to prove what his motive was, just that he intended to commit these awful acts.
Yeah, Michael Sterling, prosecutors don't have that motive. It's good to have sometimes, and sometimes maybe you don't need it, and maybe you don't need it here to prove this case. But what do you make of this wardrobe change? It's another one of these bizarre circumstances in this case. And it's a wardrobe change that you see him, you see him wearing one thing, then the suspect's wearing something else. Is it the same person or just different with different clothes, or do you think it's potentially different people here?
Well, it's going to be whatever argument you can make, right? If you're the defense attorney, you can make the argument that's a completely different person. That's not my client who wouldn't have had time to change clothes. You can make the argument. So it really comes down to what is provable, what you can argue, what you can reasonably infer from that type of evidence. So the question becomes, can you demonstrate that this is the exact same person? And if you can raise the sector of reasonable doubt as to that being the same person, then you start to make a little headway.
Yeah, Gerald Griggs, that's my fear here for prosecutors is, there's little things that don't fit together. And does the jury hold the prosecution to a standard that is not necessary, which is to prove everything beyond a reasonable doubt and answer every single question? Sometimes they can't, and the only thing legally they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt are the elements of the crime.
Yeah, one of the most important elements of a crime is identity. And, looking at the video and the stills, it's going to be interesting how they're going to prove the identity. Because as you said, they don't have to prove motive. They do have to prove an act, and they have to prove intention, but they always have to prove identity. And so it's going to come down to whether or not the jury believes that these two individuals are one individual and that 50 minutes of time is not important. So I think those are the elements that the prosecution has to shore up, and that's exactly what a defense is going to attack.
All right, I want to bring back in Chanley Painter into the conversation. And Chanley, where are we now? What's coming up tomorrow? And how is the jury holding up here?
Interesting you asked this question because it's been a long day for these jurors today. Like I said, all the witnesses building up to what they will see tomorrow. But it was so much so to the point earlier today, Vinny, that the judge called out one of the jurors for seeming to be asleep in the jury box. And after the jury left, he told the attorneys that he may start implementing more stretch breaks during the day just so that all the jurors are paying attention. They're staying awake throughout the testimony. So that was interesting. It was a little bit monotonous in there today, but tomorrow will be much more visual for these jurors. They'll have the compilation of the video and the photos from the timeline of all the businesses they learned about today for this jury to play. Like I said, they brought in extra television screens for them to have a front row seat to all of that is happening. And then they're going to actually move pretty quickly into the next phase of the prosecution, which is how they tie that white Ford truck F-150 to the defendant in a neighboring county where a deputy there recognized that truck as the truck his chiropractor drove. Benny?
Wow, that's critical, as Gerald pointed out, critical to get that ID. And if you got to get it through the truck, that's going to help things. But tomorrow, a big day, should be fascinating. Chanley Painter in North Dakota, thank you so much, Chanley.
Thanks, Vinny.
Still ahead. On the docket tonight in Chaffee County, Colorado, Suzanne Morphew disappeared on Mother's Day 2020. Now, her husband is fighting murder charges in his preliminary hearing as evidence of Suzanne's extramarital affair is played in court. We take a closer look.
If anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you.
Plus, in Albany, New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo resigns in the middle of a sex abuse scandal and criminal investigation.
And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing.
Our 13th juror question. Now that the governor has decided to step down, should the criminal investigation continue? Go to our Facebook pages and tell us what you think. On the docket tonight, the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. She's a mother of two, a wife, disappeared on Mother's Day 2020. And now her husband, Barry, charged with her murder, fighting those charges in court during his preliminary hearing, which is taking place this week. Our great affiliate, KMGH in Denver, has more for us tonight.
In court today, bombshell new evidence in the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. We learned she was having an affair for 2 years prior to her disappearance, that investigators only found out about the affair through a spy pen like this one that recorded audio between Suzanne and her lover, and that she traveled at least 6 times out of state to be with him. We also learned Barry Morphew and Suzanne argued shortly before her disappearance about money, in particular about Suzanne's inheritance, which the couple partially spent on their large house in Chaffee County. On the other hand, the defense argued no blood or trace evidence was ever found, not in the home, not in Barry's truck, and Suzanne's body has never been found either. They also argue Barry did everything a concerned husband would do after the disappearance of his wife, texted her, called his daughters, asked neighbors to check on Suzanne, and never objected to police searches of the home or his truck. The defense also revealed Suzanne was on antidepressants before her disappearance.
Unbelievable information coming out during this preliminary hearing. Let's bring back in our think tank, Ann Bremner, Michael Sterling, Gerald Griggs. All right, before we comment, I want to ask you, all these things are going on seemingly in this relationship, right? Very complicated. She's having an affair. She's got a spy pen. She suspects he might be having an affair. They're arguing about money. But when she disappeared, Barry put out a video. I want to show it to you one more time. And again, look at the video, judge his demeanor, notice the frown wrinkles in his forehead make him look very concerned.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad.
Michael Sterling, what'd you think of Barry? I mean, now that we know all these things that are going on inside that home.
Sure. I mean, he looks like a concerned husband, Vinny. I mean, I just don't see. I mean, with the lack of physical evidence that the defense was pointing out today in the preliminary hearing, it's unusual to get this much information and this much evidence at a prelim hearing, especially from the defense. But this lack of physical evidence that somehow ties him to anything related to her disappearance or murder, and just the mere fact that she was having an affair and there might have been money trouble, I don't think that gets you that gets you there. You're going to need something else. You're going to need something more than just that.
Gerald Griggs, scorned husband. Not you.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Barry,
no.
scorned husband. I'm sorry.
Yeah. My
Barry
marriage is
Morphew,
good.
scorned husband. Does that theme work as a potential motive here?
I'm not sure. I have to agree with Michael. This lack of any type of physical evidence is going to be real hard. I mean, it's enough to get you past a prelim. But I think the reason why the defense is laying this out is for further conversation down the road with the state as to the lack of any real substantial evidence and kind of giving them a preview of what a trial would look like. And any competent defense attorney would do this and show them early on that they're going to have a rough go at it with a first-degree murder charge. So I think that's what's happening right now.
And Bremner, I think this was a broken relationship. You know, the children were getting older.
Mm-hmm.
If she's having an affair for 2 years with someone...
2 years.
And then the spy pen. Apparently I think the story is she bought the spy pen because she suspected him, but somehow she gets recorded in a 5-hour conversation with her lover. And that's how investigators find out all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's trouble in paradise there.
Big trouble in paradise. And then you kind of shift to whether or not there was some involvement with the gentleman she had the affair with. They went to school together. There was domestic violence in her marriage. She had kind of the cleanup things with her husband. But what a tale. It was hard to follow. I mean, I felt like I needed pins and maps in terms of what kind of evidence they have in text. She texted a bikini picture of herself right before she disappears. There's one last kind of cryptic text from the man with whom she's having an affair. There's like a lot more questions than answers in this case. And you see some people saying, is this victim blaming in the prelim hearing? And then I agree with Gerald and Michael. There's kind of a dearth of evidence, at least at this stage in preliminary hearing. They just have to get past probable cause. They'll get there. We have to ask ourselves, really, what is the evidence in this case? But this is a man scorned? Sounds like.
It does, and again, he may be a double victim, a victim of a wife who's cheating on him, and a victim of losing his wife to whatever happened here, if it wasn't him, as prosecutors believe it was. Michael Sterling, what are your thoughts about the spy pen?
Vinny,
That's kind of
I'm not quite
unusual in a relationship,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to take a survey here on the show, but I think people at home. I mean, it's a little drastic, right?
Well, I can answer it. I would not use a pen to spy on my wife. That is unusual. And it's really unusual that she was suspecting him of cheating when she was having a 2-year affair. So
And how about the fact? How about this, Michael? The man who she was having this affair with, like, she goes missing, and like he's gone. It's like he has nothing to do with the search. No concern. Is just stop and allegedly is erasing some of his messages with her. I mean, that's problematic for prosecutors, I think.
Absolutely, and Vinny, that was going to be my next comment, and you got me right before I got to it. Like, where is that guy in all of this? Where is he at? Why is he not being questioned or being looked at? Is his house being searched? Is his cars being searched? He's doing all of these things that appear to be guilty while her husband's desperately searching for him. No physical evidence tying her husband to this crime, to her disappearance. So where's this guy at? Where are the police? What are the police doing about him?
Yeah, and the bottom line, prosecutors better have all those answers in front of a jury, because they're going to be so focused on him in this trial, more so than anything else. If they don't answer those questions, they're going to have a big problem. Take a look, folks. The preliminary hearing is continuing, 23rd, 24th of all. Well, it's happening now, too, so I guess it'll continue. No trial date yet. First, they got to bind it over for trial. Anyway, we'll continue to bring you updates as we get them from Colorado. In the meantime, when we come back, Mario's son stepped down today. Who am I talking about? You'll find out when we return.
I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I've been since I can remember. In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn. And wasting energy on distractions is the last thing that state government should be doing. And I cannot be the cause of that. New York tough means New York loving. And I love New York. And I love you. And everything I have ever done has been motivated by that love. And I would never want to be unhelpful in any way. And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing.
And he stepped down. That's Mario's son, Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York State, stepping down. You know, there were all the allegations that came out in the report that was done a few days ago. So we're not talking about politics on the show. We don't do that. What we're talking about is there's a criminal investigation ongoing. But part of the defense of Cuomo and his team was that all this was politically motivated. So I asked you today, now that the politics of it is over, he's stepping down, he's going away, he's leaving office, should the criminal investigation continue? We begin with our 13th juror comment of the day from Dwayne. Allegations from any crime should be investigated fully and charges should be laid if necessary. No person is above the law that governs all citizens. Michael Sterling, I'll just get your general reaction. Do you think this criminal investigation is going to continue and will end up with the former governor facing charges?
Yeah, I mean, yes, if the attorney general was serious about her report and her allegations, and if state prosecutors are following up on those reports and allegations, then yes, I think the criminal investigation will continue. And if there's probable cause, we'll see an indictment.
Wow. That's Unbelievable turn of events here. Walter, it's a waste of time. Gerald Griggs, you think this is a waste of time? Is this just Mario? No, I keep saying Mario. Is this just Andrew Cuomo being like the Goomba from New York, where I grew up? Where I grew up, me and my friends, we never did the kissing thing. We just didn't do it. But there were friends of ours who would do that. They meet each other, they do the whole thing. Is it that, or was something else going on here?
Well, I think the women and the accusers that are bringing these charges believe it's more than that. So, I mean, if it's truly some there, they need to fully investigate it and, let the chips fall where they may. I do understand the governor's defense here. If he was my client, he wouldn't be making any more statements. He believed it was politically motivated, but then he was removed from office. He resigned. So I think that if there's really going to be a full vetting of this entire issue, it needs to get to the bottom of this criminal investigation. If there is probable cause, as Michael said, then he needs to be indicted, and we need to see it in the courtroom.
Sandy tonight, yes, all people should be held to account. Stepping down means nothing and shouldn't stop a court case or investigation. And Bremner, the thing from my perspective about the allegations that's politically motivated is that the allegations are coming from people that work for him.
Right. I mean, not only that, people that work for him, the doctor that gave him the COVID test, the state trooper that guarded him, those are the people that are complaining. There's 13. So how could it be politically motivated? And this isn't, a period at the end of the sentence with his resignation. It's just a comma. He should be investigated. It's like, what a difference a day makes. He resigns. And he's trying to say, what a difference my lifetime makes. When I was younger, it was all okay. Well, it's not okay to touch the sexual or private parts of a woman. That's never changed. And he basically showed himself as a victim, I think, in this press conference, and then brought in his daughters, his 3 jewels, right, to say that this is for my daughters. I hope they have a better future. And, women have come a long way, kind of thing. I think a lot of people probably found that kind of off-putting in this day and age. But the answer is yes.
We shall see.
Yeah, he should be investigated.
And Bremner, Michael Sterling, Gerald Griggs, always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you real soon.